First question, very easy. I almost answered it for you. Where are you from and where do you live now?
I'm originally from Israel. I grew up in Israel and started my dance training there. And when I was 22, I moved to New York to pursue a career as a dancer. And since then, it's been now 31 years that I've been in New York. I was dancing for Stephen Petronio Company and many other people, and slowly shifted more towards my own teaching and my own choreography and my own practice. So I've been mostly a freelance teacher, choreographer, sometimes dancer. I have performed here and there, but not as intensely as in the past. And I also practice shiatsu massage.
And how's it dance started for you? What brought you to dance at the beginning?
I think dance was inside me always. And I always tell the story that I remember dancing in the living room of my family, and always my dad would put records and I would always make dances and always dance. And when I think there was a family friend who saw me dance and told my parents, oh, he's very talented, you should send him to classes. And when I went to a formal school and we had to do ballet and wear tights, and it felt very strict for me, and I kind of didn't like it and I quit. And then years later, I started again with jazz dancing, and then went into contemporary. And then when I started to take ballet classes again, I regretted not sticking with it since I was younger, because I was like, oh, I could have had great technique. But I kind of did everything. And yeah, so it was always with me. And it was just natural that I continued. Like, it was never a question of, will I do something else?
And I'm curious, why New York? Why did you decide to move to New York?
Yeah, if we're looking 32 years ago, in Tel Aviv, that was before Ohad came to Tel Aviv, before Gaga, before, the contemporary dance scene in Israel is really diverse and thriving now. But back then, most of the training was Graham.
Yeah.
It was very different. What was possible, there was not a lot of training. And I was in a school that had a lot of guest teachers from New York. Larry Rhodes, may he rest in peace, came as a guest teacher for ballet. Risa Steinberg, legendary Le Monde teacher. Kevin Wynn, another teacher who came from Le Monde background. And all those teachers were like, wow, they were like gods, gods came from New York to teach us. And also Marie Kajuara, the late wife of Ohad, she came and taught us, who came from Alvin Ailey. And it was amazing to be in the studio with them. So I really wanted to go to New York from where they came and their training. I also loved musicals and I loved jazz. So New York was also a place where you can get everything. You can get all the classes. You can go to hip hop class. You can go to a Le Monde class, ballet class. So yeah, I was very inspired by those teachers and wanted to go and explore.
Great. And teaching, did it start early or it came like later on? Or?
Teaching started mainly when after I joined Stephen Petronio Company. We were on tour, and always on tour you teach master classes, and we would take turns with the dancers and who is teaching the classes. And that's how I started teaching. And then the company did workshops, and I realized that I really enjoy teaching. And then I started adventuring on my own. I started to have my own classes through Movement Research in New York. And then just through different connections, people who took my class in New York, she's a friend now, Osa in Sweden, and she really enjoyed my classes. And then she went back to Sweden, and she had a connection with the institute in Sweden. So they invited me to come and teach a dance course, and then somebody else from there saw me. So things kind of unfolded, and I've been really lucky to travel and go to great places to teach.
And were you? I imagine that what you're teaching, and now, and what you were teaching then, it evolved or changed over the years. And can you tell us a little bit about that?
Ooh, how much time do we have? That's a big. Yeah, it's very interesting. No, I always love to talk about things and how teaching is evolved. And I think, if just to just say, I think what the most important thing is now that it's less about the form and more about getting to know your body. I think it's important to me for people to get to know their body through my class, and not to feel that my class is for them to know what my body is doing. So how to be efficient within your own body, and how to get to give dancers tools through my experience of being efficient in your body, learning how to move in a way that is the most healthy way, or a way to maybe prevent injuries, or to be strong and yet a healthy dancer. And I think, maybe 20 years ago when I started to teach, it was like, oh, let's do this exercise, it warms the muscles, and let's learn this phrase. But now it's a lot of understanding why we're doing it, how we're doing it, how does it work in one way for me and another way for another person, and recognize that. And also being, I think, giving more room to explore, to ask questions, to have a class more as I see it as a dialogue, as a conversation. That's what really interests me now.
Good. When you are you teach, like you said, in Sweden and in different places, what is when you leave, what is the thing that you would like them to, like, if there was one thing that you would like them to keep from you, what would it be?
Maybe how to remain curious, or how to remain, how to continue to look for possibilities of movement, and how to be adventurous, and how to be, that's more than one. But no, yeah, I think more is just how to be able to push yourself forward, and to ask questions, to move, to grow in your dance experience, in your body, rather than just remember material. And I always say, when I teach a phrase, and I say, who cares about this phrase today? This phrase is just a decoration to exercise how we're using the body and moving the space and taking risks in pushing ourselves forwards.
Did you notice any differences in the way the relation student-teacher, or the way the material is received depending on where you are in the world, or is it basically almost the same, or depending on culturally speaking also?
I think I've been fortunate that, like, I've been feeling very welcomed everywhere. I had the pleasure to teach in the Far East, in India and Japan, and I think, the mentality of the cultural mentality of how they look upon a teacher is very different than the Western world. So there's a lot more of kind of feeling the distance between the teacher is more like up there on a pedestal, the students. So when I was in Japan and I tried to encourage students to ask questions, they were very, they're really hardworking, but they were very, it was not a dialogue with them. It was when I tried to say, do you want this? Do you want that? And they're like, and if I said something, they said, yes, we'll do it. And the same with India. It was amazing teaching in Mumbai. Really such a great experience. And you know, when in Europe, people feel more free to talk to you, approach you in a way. And there's, you know, advantages and disadvantages to both approaches, but generally in the classes, I feel that there was always a curiosity in my class, and it's been really great. There's definitely more interest in the Western world, I feel, you know, with different forms of what we question as technique class. Mm-hmm. That is a little becoming less formal in a structure, in like learning exercises. There's a lot more people who use structured improv as a warm-up rather than set of exercises. And I like to play with both. I think there is room for both. And, you know, just doing improv all the time as a warm-up, I sometimes question that, but also being less strict from in the pattern of being in a count or in a structured exercise, giving some room for improv. There's a lot of space for that people can benefit from that. So I like to play with both.
We are now in the middle of a world pandemic. Everything is different from what we're used to. So now you're teaching online. What are the biggest challenges for you to teaching through this medium? Or
I think what I miss the most is touching, is touch. I'm actually more and more surprised how there are many possibilities through this format of teaching that are also good. But, you know, nothing can replace the presence of being in the room, of being able to correct people with hands-on. There's a lot of things that we can do sometimes with partnering work that that through my classes helps understand what your body is doing if you have a partner like pushing you or leading you. So I think that's the biggest thing that I miss. And also, you know, when everybody's muted, which is what we have to do, but you don't hear everybody else breathing. You don't hear. I'm missing that kind of that kind of presence that is not just seeing the body, but feeling the body with its weight, with its sweat, with the breath. Mm-hmm. And also one thing I noticed that yesterday we did an exercise in the class, and I couldn't see some of the people from a certain angle. And I realized sometimes, okay, the dancers will stand in front of me, but when I'm teaching the class, I can move around in the studio. If I want to see how the pelvis is rocking, I can see it from the side view. And here I realize I can only see what the students allow me to see through their camera. Yeah. So it doesn't give me the freedom to move around so much. And I was missing that. But you know, we had class today with somebody from Munich, my friend from Munich, a dancer from Brooklyn, dancers, of course, from Montreal. And that's something really new for us, exploring this in this medium that is very exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. That's I think the most beautiful thing that I could get from it is that people from all over the world can be like in one classroom at the same time. So
the global classroom.
Yeah. Do you notice any like from when you were yourself a student and now, what are the biggest differences that you could notice from back then and the way people are studying or taking dance classes at the moment?
That's another big question. I think, well, first of all, there is the whole issue, you know, that started many years ago, but now became bigger with the Me Too movement of, you know, touching, and especially in dance, we're very touchy, and this kind of permission, or how do we approach, you know, touching each other or being in the room together, this is something that was not, looked at years ago when I was a student. And there was some teachers that, sometimes if you look back at it, you could say took advantage of certain situations. And now, it's very important all the time that if you are in a class that you say, I'm going to come and put hands on and correct people. And if you're not comfortable for this, please let me know. So there's a lot of this kind of, as much as we want to touch, but also that putting that statement out there is really important. And it's something that I really feel has changed how the relationship is. But I also feel that students' voice, it used to be like, you're the student, you just listen. Yeah. And student voices have become really valid and important. Again, the flip side of that is sometimes I feel that students, more sometimes in universities, they constantly want to tell the institute or the school how they need to be taught. And there's nothing wrong about that, but sometimes you also need to listen to what the teacher has to say. You don't know exactly, or say, I don't think this course is good for me, or why do I need to learn this? And sometimes that becomes also too much from the other side. It's like, okay, we're listening to you, but also we have some experience, and we also know that this is something that you can benefit from, even if you don't see it now.
Yeah.
So again, always a play with like, there is an advantage side to it, but also a flip side a little bit.
Also,
but definitely are more outspoken for sure.
Yeah, and so there are so many more choices for them too than before, and also with YouTube and everything.
Yes.
The situation is very different.
Yes.
I have a game to, if you're up for it, we could play a little game that we do.
Sure.
So it's very simple. I have a couple of questions and all you have to do is answer as quickly as you can. So don't try to overthink it. There's no right or wrong. First answer is the right answer. So let's see how it goes. Ready?
Let's do it.
So what other profession would you have liked to attempt?
Architect.
Something you always wanted to do?
Or a travel agent.
Travel agent, okay. Something you always wanted to do but never did?
Skydiving.
Performing or rehearsal?
Performing.
One word to describe yourself.
I don't know. Patient.
Reality or fiction?
At this time of what the world is going through, definitely fiction.
What is your addiction?
My addiction? Movies.
And what is your favorite curse word?
The F word.
A very popular one.
Yes.
A show that made an impact on you.
A show that made an impact on me. There's so many. I'll choose The Who's Tommy, which is one of the first Broadway shows that I've seen that I was just blown away by the whole, like how a production can be so perfect and mind-blowing in its, how it was so well done artistically and in entertaining wise. Yeah.
Would you prefer losing all your memories or never being able to create new ones?
Never being able to create new ones.
If you could change one thing, what would it be?
Change one thing? Mm-hmm. About me or about the world or?
Or both.
Or both? God. You got me with this one. If I could change one thing, I would like to change that we could just do the, not time travel, but that we could just, what was it like, what was that show?
Transportation?
Yeah, that you could just dissolve and be in another place right away. So you can,
Like
you
in
know, I
Star
can have
Trek.
my family in Tel Aviv and then come back to my apartment in New York.
That would be one of my favorite thing to do as well.
Was it Star Trek? Yes, then
It's
they
Star
have
Trek,
this.
yeah.
Okay.
And the last question is, what is your state of mind at the moment?
The state of mind, well, a little bit between patience and anxiety. Is there a mix between the two? I think this time is very much between what is going to happen, and then it's okay. It's just going to have to deal with it and just relax and let yourself wait. So
Yeah.
ways, some days are like this and some days are like that.
I thank you very much, Ori, for your time. It's always it was a pleasure to meet you. Don't go anywhere. We're gonna stay together, but I'm gonna.
Okay. Thank you, Daniel, and thank you to Circuit. I was there 7 years ago, and it was really great to be in the space and be in Montreal. And I think also just I want to say that as much as it is nice to teach from Zoom and having everybody come, you know, join in from different parts of the world, but part of the traveling, like, you know, when you're in Montreal, you also connect to what is happening in that city and that community and that artistic community, and you can learn more about that. And that's something that is hard to get from when tuning into the 2 hours in Zoom and shutting down. So I'm also missing that, and I hope I could travel back to Montreal when this is over.
Well, this is also our wish to, like, the next time that you will be with us in person, hopefully very, very soon.
Yeah, but I appreciate you continuing to have those classes virtually and stay connected. Thank you.
Thank you, and I will see you again tomorrow.
Yes.